Hey, we're having some fun already, guys. Welcome to Sunday Night Sessions, where we may not always be politically correct. We're certainly never scripted, but guaranteed to be thought-provoking. It's great to be back. I'm Tracy Jameson, along with Val Smith. And before we get going, I do want to give a big shout out to Alan Knight on our Sunday Night Sessions last week. It was epic. It was a lot of fun. Great content, very entertaining, and you got to see it. The ending was pretty cool. But anyways, Val, today we've had some really cool conversations today, as we always do. I think often we say that, man, I wish we'd have recorded that one, because there's such great content in the conversations that you and I have. Conversations we have with 3 people on the line or 4 people on the line. It's because, there's learning that goes on there. And I had to run around today a little bit, and it really got me thinking. It was thought-provoking as usual. But I was thinking about who influences me, who inspires me, and for why. Of course, you are most definitely in that category, because we've hung out for a couple of years, and I've learned a great deal from you. But we always have really interesting conversations, and it's always about where we're going next, how we're going to do it, and bringing in other people's thoughts into that process. And I think that's really important, that people don't do more of that. And so you're a great influencer, but I was thinking more along the lines of when I was just driving around, there were so many things that were going on in my mind. I was thinking about this Pokemon Go craze, specifically about it being such a big influence on the people right now. And for me, I can't get into that, because I've never been into those games anyways, but it really has influenced a lot of people in taking up their time, and for me, I think that it doesn't provoke anything in the positive for me. But we also went in another direction with regards to that. We kind of expanded, when you and I were just talking a little while ago, we kind of expanded on that a little bit, about more so on, you brought up the word labeling, and I want you to kind of expand on that a little bit.
Well, labeling is really interesting. And before I get into the labeling, I want to thank Alan, too. That was a great presentation he did last week. We got a lot of rave reviews on that. So, Alan, thank you so much. Labeling's a big part of our life, Tracy. And before I came to this call tonight, I was outside with the dogs. And you know me, I kind of drift off in different vortexes and different wormholes and things like that in my thought process. So I was thinking about, you have 3 planets. You have 3 planets. I can only show you 2. Unless I put this here. I don't know if that'll fit in there, but there's 3 planets with my vitamin water bottle there. You've got planet poverty, you've got planet Earth, and then you've got planet prosperity. So poverty, prosperity, and planet Earth. And Earth is a combination of both. But in planet poverty, it's a world of victimization, it's a world of lackful thinking, it's a world of poverty consciousness. And I often think about this. There they teach doom and gloom on that planet. Everything, every millisecond of your life, your education is about doom and gloom. And in planet Earth, they teach you that there's a power to be. And I'm not talking about God or the universal energy, or call it whatever it is you want. I'm talking about government and, hierarchical powers that run the planet and, control the sheeple and control the curriculum of the educational system. And then you've got a planet prosperity, which is really unique, because it's all about educating its life forms on abundance. The educational system is abundance. The educational system is asking, you shall receive, and understand that it's prosperous, that the universe in that planet is all about positive energy. There's no negative thoughts. There's no negative backstabbing. It's all abundantly clear that everything in the life is progression moving forward, and nobody is in need, want, or desire of. They understand the universal spiritual law of will have. And I think that's what not here to promote religion, but I think that's what the Bible was about. It was the will have. It was not, I want anything. Want is poverty, will have is prosperity. And that's where goal setting fails, because goal setting is want and will have is an absolute command. So I was thinking about that and how we can label, I labeled, planet poverty there. And then you've got Earth has a label on it with poverty and prosperity. It's kind of like a cocktail drink. It's got, a shot of both. And then you've got planet prosperity. And so, you know, we were talking today earlier, and I was thinking about labels because I was thinking about, we were at two houses down. A very well-to lawyer in the city of Edmonton lives 2 houses down, and they had like a big movie night in their backyard with a large screen and the projectors, and you know, a large group of people were there in the backyard enjoying a few drinks and cocktails and foods, and a concession stand for the kids and things like that. It was a beautiful setup and environment with 2 really cool bonfires going. And I was thinking, I was in this conversation with restaurant owners and business owners and lawyers, and we rocked it out till about well after 3 o'clock in the morning in conversation, and people were having drinks and shooters, and you know, when they drink, they start talking, and and so it was just really interesting watching the dynamics from political conversations to you know, to free trade, to talking about you know, the NAFTA agreement with the U.S. and Canada, all kinds of interesting things, talking about who's making money, who the high taxpayers are, and things like that. So it was really interesting listening to it because, you know, they were talking about, you know, my lawyer friend, I'll call him Mark. His name's Mark. I don't have to give out his last name, but he was talking about, you know, this guy phones him up, a friend of his phones him up, and he's at work, and he sits there, and his friend was talking to him about this disagreement he got in with a golf and country club, because he got drunk at a golf and country club and drove the cart into a lake, and then he peed on the fountain. And he says he doesn't remember doing that, but apparently, you know, it was all on. Yeah, people put it on video, and he says, I really don't know if I did it, but they want to, you know, they want me to pick up an invoice, and they want to press charges. So Mark was saying, okay, well, he said, I was talking to this guy for $10, but he said, then I had to say, you know what, you know, you're dumb, you're stupid, you made a mistake, just pay the fine and pay the consequences. He didn't want to really serve him in the lawyer dogma stuff. He said I was supposed to invoice him $750 for my time. You know, yeah. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about labeling a lawyer, doctors there, you know, big business owners that own like 30, 40 restaurants at the house and things like that. And I'm thinking of all these labels, and then you've got, you know, people that are labeled as minimum wage workers. So everything in earth is kind of like a label, and people play out in these labels. They live and breathe their label. An $8 an hour minimum wage worker, or $12 an hour minimum wage worker, or this guy's a plumber and works for $30 an hour. You see, the labels are conditioned, and people accept those labels, and they don't question them, and they don't strive in most cases to you know, escape that kind of, I don't know if it's a comfort zone or whatever it is zone it's in.
Well, it's kind of like people are taught how to be part of the machine. And, you know, there's 2 trains of thought. It's like the McDonald's kind of thing. You know, when you're hiring, because I did so much hiring in the corporate world, you know that yeah. I actually looked for people that had gone through that the McDonald's training, because they become part of the machine. You know that they've been trained well, they can follow directions, they're going to show up, they can be part of a system. But that's good for the corporate world. It's good for, as a corporation that's going to hire those kind of people, but it's not good for those people, because again, like you said, Del, people become they get that label, and they become part of that machine, and they never break out of that. And they never get into an environment where they're going to think any differently, right?
Yeah, they're stuck in whatever label they're given. You know, you can have a lawyer, you can have a label as a lawyer, but then you got to value yourself as are you a $400 an hour lawyer like Mark, $750 for 10 minutes of his time on the phone? Because they round that off to an hour no matter what, right? Whether he gives you the hour or not, yeah. You take 5 minutes, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, the first hour, any time, whether you decide to get off anywhere, it's 45 minutes.
Once they crack that door.
Yeah, it's still $750.
Yeah.
So how do we accept that as human beings? What educated us to believe that we should be on Facebook for no money an hour? What, you know, who taught us that we need to be on the internet and buy into systems that don't allow us to make money? They promise we'll make money, but our psychological block tells us that we're not to make money. But we have to be a part of somebody's downline and somebody's power line and somebody's spillover and somebody's kind of, you know, animated, automated system for our lives. And people accept that. But the ones that create that planet, like prosperity, poverty, or earth, the ones that create that system, being the planet, they dictate how much people are going to make, based on, you know, the methodology of the system, the operation of the system, and mathematically how the math really works and runs. And then people find their comfort zone where they go in. They don't go in as master distributors, but they just want to be a part of something. And so when we were talking earlier today, you know, about Tom, and we were in a conversation with Tom today and talking about, you know, the great instrumental future that we could have here at Mentoring Millionaires. Like, we put a label on Mentoring Millionaires. Why is it called Mentoring Millionaires? It's labeled Mentoring Millionaires. Now, why didn't we call it, you know, something else? Well, what did we want to call it? Mentoring broke people on the internet?
Yeah,
you know,
we laughed about
mentoring impoverished thought processes along the way.
Yeah.
It's a command. It's like what your universal power would say, or God would say, or, you know, find your place and believe in it. And so we believe that we are mentoring millionaires. They might not physically be millionaires yet, but the whole premise of environment, the sanctuary, the playground we're creating, is a millionaire mindset. It's a millionaire environment. It's instrumental using millionaire-like tools that will back up that statement. So how do we buy into these labels that, you know, I'm just another cog in the wheel out there in the internet? I want to be a superstar. I don't just want to be a distributor and a downline. You too. We want to be superstars. We want to lead the trend. We want to be innovative. We want to be creative. We don't want the label. Like, you know, somebody pitched us on a deal, and I told this guy, I said, look, I choose not to be a distributor in a company. I choose to be in a position of control and dominance, as opposed to being in a position of weakness and being dictated to. Because when you take a look at all these MLM companies in pre-launch, and we can talk about that Mickey Mouse company out of Virginia, you know, that's run by a group of unethical people out there. And, you know, yeah, like, I mean, you know, their lifestyle, if you check out their history and their background, it's pretty shady. But so you must be in order to do, in order to have. And so when you take a look at these MLM enterprises that we were a part of but didn't really ultimately have control, other people had the reins of the control of. And for other people viewing this, they've been a part of MLM enterprises, or free enterprise systems that they weren't in control of. But you got to understand the consciousness and the thought process of those in charge. Are they proactive? Are they compassionate? Are they dictators? You know, what level are they vibrating at? Where's their frequency at? And many of them will run the companies into the ground because of their greed, their irresponsibility, their lack of experience. And they seem to have a pattern of doing this over and over again with every deal. So vibration, frequency, energy, where are you vibrating at? Are you a $200 a month player? Are you the type of person that goes into a business opportunity and you're running a deficit? When you get in a conversation with somebody, they say, well, you know what, I've been in this industry for 4 years and I lost $32,000. Well, they're vibrating at a loss. They're vibrating at a impoverished loss, you know? So some people go into a company and they're very good at getting up to, you know, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. And they kind of plateau there, and that's because they're vibrating at a $10,000 mindset. And a person that makes $30,000 a year, $40,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $125,000 in a job, they're vibrating in that comfort zone. So we've got to make changes to that if, you know, becoming a millionaire is what you ultimately want to do. And why not become a millionaire in this industry? Why not vibrate at a millionaire level? It's not hard. It's just altering the mindset, making changes, and needing a lot of help to do that, of course. It's not as easy as said. But you know what? If you study people that make that money, I don't buy into it. I think people are full of crap when they say, you know, to become a millionaire, it's really hard. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. It's not. It's vibration. And then when you study these people, effortlessly, they keep rolling. Effortlessly, they keep rolling, because you might say, well, they're doing a lot of work. It looks like hard work, but when they're in the zone and they're in their environment, they're doing it for a loving. They're not doing it for a living. When you're making $1 million a year or more, like some of the networkers out there, they love doing it. You know, like we know some. We know the highest paid networkers in the world from a past company, right? And, you know, that person's on a plane every week and flying here and flying there, and they love it. They love being of service to your fellow men or fellow women.
Yeah.
Do you want to add?
Well, you said something really interesting about this ask and you shall receive. And you know what? That's a truth. But I don't think people understand that in a full context, because I mean, you can let's just sort of put an image on that as somebody, and that's kind of where we got into that whole thing with The Secret and attraction marketing, and and thinking your way through all that. People don't, and that put direct correlation with exactly what you said about the vibration. People ask for it, they beg for it, they because they don't know how to speak it in the present tense, but they've also sitting on the couch with a bag of chips watching TV. Not everybody. Some people work very, very hard, but there's a vast difference about begging for it, asking for it, commanding it, and it actually being in your present mind as a present entity, believing it, seeing it, and then doing all the things that need to be done for it to become an actuality. And I think there's a big spread in kind of, a lot of things that are being taught, the mind stuff, and in the way of, the courses and all that kind of stuff. There's some really good stuff out there, but when it comes down to it, what are people doing in actual practical application to create what they need to do? When, I mean, like we talked about this the other day, today even, about, people go to these courses, great content, and then, down the road, another 2 years down the road, they're still as broke and they're still paying off the course that they took.
They haven't bought into it. Everybody wants to hear the wonderful things. Sometimes there's somebody that doesn't feel attractive, they don't feel good about themselves, and somebody says, wow, you're really good looking, or I love your smile, or I love your laugh. They hear it, but they haven't internalized that they still don't feel good about themselves. You know what I mean? They still feel ugly, and they think they intellectually say, yes, thank you very much, I appreciate that, but they don't feel it. Let me give you an example. There's a guy out there who admits he's not the best looking guy in the world, and he's a singer. And I'll bring it up because I saw it on the internet. So if you go check out the singer of Simply Red, there's a band out there, Simply Red. I think I said this once before, but he admits in an interview that he's not the best looking man in the world. But if you heard that dude sing, you would melt like a candle. Yeah. And that guy that's not the best looking guy in the world, but can sing and just hypnotize people, can have almost any woman in the world he wants, just because of personality, loving, compassionate, just a beautiful, soft, gentle voice with, he makes people melt. And so, he admits that, low self-esteem and didn't feel good about the way he looked and stuff growing up. And there's a lot of other people out there that feel that way, and then they have this breakthrough to become superstars. So you've got to believe it. You've got to reach a point. We'll talk about that later as Mentoring Millionaires evolves. We'll be able to help people through all of that, change their belief system relatively quickly so that they don't ever have to question, because the internet promises wealth and people take the action to spend the money to get into whatever that mechanism is, but then they don't do the work. Example. Someone could go out and buy all these incredible cosmetics, spend a whole bunch of money, pain and pleasure principle, to potentially take the pain away of not feeling good, looking good. They want these cosmetics, but they may not even put them on. They may not even use them. You know what I mean? There's something about people here in planet Earth, not in planet prosperity, because that's not a problem in planet prosperity. It's a 100% problem in planet planet poverty, but in planet Earth, we've got the cocktail, and the cocktail is there's more alcohol than there is good stuff in the drink, and the alcohol is holding people back. I'm using that as an analogy. People are just, they're not buying that something could possibly be better for them. They'll buy it, but they won't use it. So they haven't internalized it, and that's a big problem in business opportunities. Is you could have a company with 100,000 distributors, but what is it they believe? You got a company with 100,000 distributors. How many of them believe in the product? How many of them believe in the system? How many believe in the culture? How many are caught up in utilizing everything in order to be, in order to do, in order to have? So the whole point being is how many people are active. You have 100,000 people. It'd be interesting to see how many people are active out of the 100,000 when you go through the database, what the percentages are. In Planet Prosperity, you have 100% retention. And in Planet Poverty, you don't. Everybody quits and gives up its self-esteem. And in Planet Earth, it's that cocktail, it's that mix, right? And you know, the negative outweighs the positive in most cases. So we'll be talking a lot about great things in the future, how people can change this. You know, that self-help movement is okay, but it doesn't work. It really doesn't work, and we can explain to people why it doesn't work. We can explain to people why goal setting doesn't work, the power positive thinking doesn't work. Example, I'll just give a quick example. Most people that go to, I had my massage therapist fly from Canada with his dad down to Vegas to go to a network marketing convention that was all hyped out, you know, and all the big speakers were going to be there, and you know, it was going to be broadcasted live. You could buy the thing. So we went down there and you know, had a great time, and went down there for $4,400 with his dad, and then bought some stuff down there, books, tapes, videos, and audios, and that was 2 years ago. And I've been back, and I said, so, you know, what have been the results in the last 2 years? You saw some of the greatest networkers on stage, and, you know, authors and books and legendary gurus and heroes out there, and it was all hyped out as the main event. So what? How's your life changed? And he said, well, I'm still paying, still paying the credit card bill for the trip. That's the only change in my life.
No kidding, eh?
You know, so it's kind of
like
the
guys that put on the event. The guy that put on the event just made $1 million.
Yeah, and you know, listen to the CDs to reinforce it a couple times over again, but they still don't believe because they're still in the same, you know, pathetic pee-pee hole that he was in before he went down. There's nothing to show for it. Other than I was there. It was a memory, but it wasn't a life-changing, altering experience that the, you know, the facadal, like superficial, hyped out portions of the network marketing industry create it to be.
Right.
It's got to be internal. You know, you got to take the tumor out. You've got to take the virus out. You can't treat a virus with, you know, a really, really cheap piece of software that doesn't remove the whole thing. It's still manifesting on the inside. So with most people, poverty will always dominate prosperity. People have that little spark and that little bit of hope of maybe I can do this, maybe I can do this, I'd love to do that. But there's just, you know, they get shot down, and the self-help movement really doesn't help them as much as it probably could. And so I think we're on the right path in what we're doing. What we're going to introduce here very shortly that'll blow people's freaking minds to break away from the self-help movement and that, you know, the hell with those type of workshops, you know, and people can really see results within 24 hours.
Right. And the difference, and the real difference, we talked about this too, the difference, you know, there's some people out there that they can go from program to program and they'll make, you know, $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, maybe even $10,000. And then it's the next one, and it's another $3,000 or $4,000 or $10,000. Then it's the next one, it's a 3 or 4. It's like it's a poverty chain of, you know, paying a few bills, getting a bit of money, and then back at the same. It's like an addiction thing that continues to go and go and go. Where in the real world of building business, building an empire, and building something to create for the future is a whole different mentality. It's a whole different process than just scrambling to make a few bucks. And I think that's what you're getting at too, is like that whole, you're only going to be at that level. You're only going to remain at that and continue to struggle and continue to, you know, gather a few beans rather than learning how to use the beans to plant the right seeds so that you can grow something that's sustainable. And what's sustainable is yourself.
Yeah, you want to get away from the repeat performance. It becomes very boring. You know, and that's why when you take a look at a movie, I think somebody brought this up. I think Gino talked about this. You know, you go see a movie, but you read the book, and when you read the book, you've got this great innovative imagination that takes you places and creates pictures. I remember when I was in grade 3, and the book that stands out was the Narnia series. It was the Narnia series, and teacher used to read that to us in class, and we'd sit there and put our heads down like that on the desk and listen to her read. I was off the, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I remember Catcher in the Rye. If you've ever read the Catcher in the Rye, I mean, I was going places, and then when I saw the Narnia movie series, it really did. It never justified the book. They can never create the world that you create in here, and unfortunately, it's the same with the internet. It can't recreate what you're creating in here. It just can't. It's just they falsify things. It becomes illusional, and it has all the limitations reveal itself, and it's not the same. So the book is always better than the movie, and it always seems to be that way in life. The book, whenever you get to use your mind of a child, it really sucks. And one of the things that we did is we celebrate Hanukkah here in the house, and we celebrate Christmas because there's two of us in the house that come from different cultures. So the kids get Hanukkah and they get Christmas, right? And one of the things that I've instilled in the kids is Santa Claus. And even to this day, they're starting now to question the Santa Claus at 9 and 10, and they kind of really question the Santa Claus. But I am so good at being a salesperson about Santa Claus, I'll say, well, you know what? Get up. Go see if Dad goes out there and does it. I'll go right to bed. You can sleep right by my side, Maya and Ethan. We'll go to sleep right here on the couch or on the floor, and you get up and you wait for Santa Claus to come, to sell it. And you can, I'm not Santa Claus, you go check it out and you talk to him. And when he confronts you for staying up too late and doesn't give you the presents because, you're there to scout him out. Yeah. So, but the mind, when you watch your kids with the mind of a child, it is so beautiful. Yeah. They're my daughter's imagination, Ethan's imagination, and Ethan's way out in outer space. I don't even relate to him sometimes, but it's a beautiful thing because he has his own world. To get him up in the morning, he says, Dad, I'm not getting up yet. I got to close my eyes again, and I got to go watch my movie. I'm watching a movie. But it's his dream. It's his dream. He wants to go back into something and don't interrupt it. He won't get out of bed yet. So he goes back and he wants to recapture his world. And then as an adult, that stuff's all taken away. So it kind of sucks.
Well, and what's great is as children, they don't know the limitations yet. And I remember that as being a child of truly believing that I could do anything. I used to spend hours jumping off the picnic table because I was convinced I could fly. Yeah. And I did it over and over and over again because I knew I could fly. If I did it enough times, I knew I could fly. And so I think that, you're such a great influence. You're a great influence and teacher and coach for your kids because, you give them all the room to explore. You're a great role model, and there's too many things that they'll get into as they get older that will try to put limitations and try to put them in a box. And I've watched your daughter. I mean, she's just a chip off of the old block here with what she's picking up from you. She's going to be an incredible entrepreneur. She's got all the confidence in the world. She's a little rock star. And your son, Nick, he does things a little bit differently. Boys think differently than girls do at that age. And I'm sure he's probably watching you quietly more so than her being in there. She's doing things with you by your side and doing them with you. He's probably watching and analyzing it. And that's what you did. You're an analyst. I watch you all the time. When you're talking to people, we come and talk after the fact where we've had a conversation, and you always see things a little bit differently than everybody else does. You have a very different perspective. You've got a different lens. You see the world and people and everything else with a very different lens than everyone else does. And I'm very grateful for that because I think I'm pretty perceptive in a lot of ways in what I see, and I see things from a lot of angles. I can see things 100 miles down the road before people have even got their shoes tied up. And I have to, because that's my corporate thought process, and it's about being able to, be able to think of things much larger than they are at present. That's how my mind works, and of course, I'm the creative and the logic in that component. But being able to look through, like you said, like through the eyes of a child, without having all those borders and boundaries put on, is that people have accepted that. The sky is blue. Why is it blue? Why do you think it's blue? Because you were told it was blue.
Yeah.
Is it blue? I don't know. Argue the fact, debate it with me, prove me wrong. Yeah. So, and I think that people have just accepted too much about being told the way things are and being told that they're this and told that. What I love about what you've done with me and with regards to, you know, pushing me and challenging me, you do it in very subtle ways, and I'll go look at it going, wow, you know, like I ended up doing all these things, and you believed in the things, but your belief system is very different than most people, and that of course is why you've been and are so successful. My belief system is, you know, I believe in things. I'll debate things because I have a very strong belief system, and it may not be the same as everyone else's. So I think that we need to really, you know, help people through that process. And the only way they're going to do it, Val, they can watch it, they can sit in an audience all day long, but they're never ever going to have any change in it unless they start doing some practical application through that process, right?
Yeah, well, two things I got to say, because I got to keep my eye on the time here.
Right.
But you're absolutely correct. And you know, the sky is not blue. It's blue for a little bit. Sometimes it can be gray, and sometimes it can be dark. It can be black. It all depends. So those are possibilities. We got to look at all the possibilities of potentials, and people need to look at the possibilities and stop just saying the sky is blue. It is blue during certain times of the day, but sometimes it doesn't look blue. It could have various different tones to it, and you know, the possibility for us to become bigger and better than we are is there. And I think with what we're about to introduce in the very near future to mentoring millionaires is going to be the game changer that nobody else has. There's nobody else that will have what we have, and it's going to be dynamite, and it will change lives. And we don't say that superficially. It really will change lives, you know, for the better, and people will understand that when we talk about that. So, you know, what we're going to do right now, we got to run. Tracy and I do have to run. I do apologize. I have to be somewhere elsewhere. But you know what? The sky will open up your world of possibilities. And so will Mentoring Millionaires and some of the great things we have coming down the pipeline. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to rock your world. And I'm glad we have an exclusive on it. And I'm glad that nobody else in the world will have exactly what we have, and it can't be duplicated. So stay tuned for some pretty incredible things. Trace?
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a blast as usual, Val, and we'll see you again next Sunday night session. Bye.
Cheers.